I guess we're ready here. Everybody, welcome to the May 3rd, 2023 special virtual meeting of the Public Health and Safety Committee. I'd like to call the meeting to order. The first order of business is to approve the minutes of the March 15th and the April 12th meetings. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Looks unanimous. Okay, thank you. The first item on our agenda is to discuss and vote on item 23-12, acceptance of a Darien Foundation grant of $123,540 to the Darien Police Department. Police Chief Donald Anderson, Police Captain Allison Hudima, and Darien Police Commissioner Brent Hayes are on the call. And Allison, why don't you go ahead and take it away?
Okay, so I spoke to the Darien Foundation. They asked what our needs were this year. I said this coming year we were looking for an upgrade to our Marine Division boat electronics, which they were happy to listen to. We asked for a new laptop, navigation equipment, sonar, radio systems, searchlight, accessories, installation, and some radios just to upgrade everything. And they were happy to listen to us. So we gave them some quotes, and basically this is just an upgrade to the equipment we already have. As you all know, technology changes so fast. Some of our stuff was breaking down, and the last time we purchased equipment was 2016. So some of our equipment was breaking down and we needed to upgrade. And they were happy to offer us this grant. So that's where we started.
Okay. A question that I had is, are there any going to be any type of subscriptions, any ongoing cost to the town that might pop up?
No, no, there are no ongoing subscriptions that I am aware of. It's just the same equipment we use now. Any ongoing subscriptions we pay for ourselves, like a radio or something like that. That's something we cover. There's nothing else to be covered.
Mm-hmm.
There would be no additional charges above and beyond the existing equipment.
And are there other things that are coming down the pike that you see that need to be upgraded? I mean, a number of years ago, and it seems like yesterday to us, but it's obviously a long time ago, we were on the boat and got a lot of information, and there was no discussion then about upgrades or stuff like that. But it totally makes sense. So what do you anticipate in the future? I mean, where does this leave you now?
So I think just like before, we went, 6 years without an upgrade, and that served us well. And I think we could expect the same in the future. 6 to 8 years, things start breaking down. Technology advances so much that we may have to upgrade to get equipment that would help serve the community much better. So I think it's probably the same time frame that we would look at in the future. But depending on how this lasts, if we can get more years out of it, then fine. But technology, moves so fast, and we want, any up-to-date equipment that we can get. As long as our equipment is working, we wouldn't need to upgrade, but some of our stuff is starting to fail. So that's why we looked into this option now.
And just as a point of recollection, that when we got Marine 127 in 2016, the Darien Foundation did graciously supply most of this equipment that it was on that vessel at the time it was new. So they're continuing on in their support of the Marine Division and our mission by refurbishing and replacing some of this equipment. Also, a point that we want to stress is some of these portable radios that they're funding for us. They're the same radios our regular police officers carry, but they have additional Marine Division frequencies on it. So since they are graciously supplying us these radios, that's almost $50,000 in radios that we would have to be replacing on our operational or capital budget that we don't have to do. So it is a huge benefit, their generosity to the police department, kind of killing two birds with one stone.
Is there any new training that needs to be done for the equipment with your staff?
I
None
don't,
that,
I don't
that I'm-
believe,
How about downtime? Will there be any downtime with the use of the boat? With installations or whatnot, or is it pretty seamless?
they,
I'm fairly confident the swap out will be very quick. We would not, it might run side by side, but a lot of these things are probably a pretty much direct swap.
In fact, that's why we want to get this done for the May 8th meeting, just in an effort to order the equipment. So we have it all for, so we have it immediately for the summer.
Mm-hmm.
I just had a question regarding like similar police forces in our region who obviously have coastal communities as well. Are we pretty much on par with what they're utilizing? Is this on the
Yes.
same level?
Yes, so actually, the radio upgrade, the portable radios the chief was talking about, we're one of the very few in our area that don't have them yet. But other than equipment, yes, we're up to par with everyone else around us with the equipment that we're ordering now.
Gotcha. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks.
Are there any new capabilities that this equipment will let us do?
I believe it's like a night vision camera for the boat. So at night, I'm sure you know, if you're looking out into the ocean, there's no lights out there, you're just with the moon. And so this does like a heat sensing for people. So if somebody goes overboard or there's a kayak that has flipped, we can find them more easily, which we didn't have before. So that is an up in equipment.
Well, Lois will probably remember, but we were offered a blanket ability to come out and have a tour. We've done that once before. Maybe we could do that again sometime.
Of course.
Kind of a late afternoon thing.
Yeah,
On a bright, sunny, hot day, of course.
Yeah.
I have to say, I was really impressed when we did that, because if one doesn't, I wasn't on public health and safety when this all went through the first time, and it was like, all right. But when the police officer gave us a whole description, it was so impressive about what he talked about, the thinking that went into why he chose, why he recommended what he did, and how he worked with all of the staff and the other other companies about what it was. It was very impressive to hear that, because without being involved, one doesn't have that perspective. At least
right. I think you guys should definitely try and get on board and take a ride, because like you said, you don't know what this stuff is until you actually see it and see what it's capable of. And then you'll understand why I think it's so important for us to have, especially when someone goes overboard, and, it could be life and death in minutes, and, the proper equipment can save lives. So I think it is important, and it's important to go look at for sure.
And how's the boat holding up? Because now it's been 6 years, and I don't know what the lifespan of the boat is expected to be. So I'm just curious if there's any change in your perspective on the lifespan of the boat.
That boat was state of the art then, and it is state of the art now. I fully expect to get at least another quarter century, if not more, out of that hull.
Right.
That's why it was so expensive. It is built to last, and it doesn't have to be replaced because of the construction the way it is. So I don't see in any time in our time probably doing this job that boat will be replaced.
Right. And I mean, every so often the motors have to be replaced, and that's just because you're putting so many hours on them, but that's with any boat.
Do we have some, I'm sorry, Lois.
I just one more question. How many officers are trained to be able to, run it and be on it?
I believe we have 5 officers on the Marine Division right now. 2 are full-time and 3 are part-time.
Thank you.
Captain, do we have any kind of mutual aid response plan with neighboring towns?
Yes.
And will they use this technology that we're going to adopt if they don't have it themselves?
Yes. So the water is much different than land. So there's not really many boundaries. When you're out in the water, you can, you can uphold the law like throughout until almost New York State. But what happens on boat calls is everyone goes, because nobody knows, you can drift, or, landmarks are few and far between. So when there's a distress call, most departments in that area head out to it. So we go to Stanford, we go to Westport, we go to Norwalk, and they come to us, and we all use the same technologies. And that's why those radios are so important that we're getting, because now we can have direct communication with other Marine divisions, whereas before it had to go through our dispatch or through a telephone. And if you've ever been on the water, telephone on the water service is terrible, and you don't really get it. So you either have to go through Coast Guard or our police radio. So you're making like 2 or 3 calls to get in touch with someone, where now we have these police radios and you scan, you can talk to each other. So I think it would be very beneficial.
And do those radios work on a trunked system? In other words, I cannot go to Radio Shack and buy a scanner and listen to transmissions?
I am not 100% sure on that. I don't know if the chief has the answer. I don't believe we're encrypted at this point, so I'm not exactly sure. I would say you may be able to get it on a scanner.
Yeah, Marine Division, interoperability, there's no real secrecy there, right? So the Marine Division channels where we're talking to other law enforcement is an open channel. So you have to have that interoperability so you can talk to everyone that's out on the water, because there's limited backup coming for you. It's not like on land where multiple cars are coming to back you up. They do rely on other agencies. So it's pretty open communication out on the water. There's very few things that are secret or being encrypted out there.
Mr. Chairman, would you like a motion? You're muted, Mac.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, yes, thank you.
I would move approval of item 23-12 to gratefully accept a grant from the Darien Foundation for $123,540 for use by the police department in the aforementioned marine technology.
Okay. Do I have a second? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. That's unanimous. Thank you.
Hey, Lois, I just want to mention one thing. You mentioned that you had met with the Marine Division, learned quite a bit, spent some time with the folks down there at Pear Tree Point. The chief reinstituted the Civilian Police Academy just a couple of months ago. It was met with a tremendous amount of success. We received a lot of compliments on it, and the Marine Division are one of the units that presented that. The Detective Bureau, all of our specialized units. So we're going to be doing that again in the fall, and particularly, I think everybody on public health and safety, I think you would really enjoy it if you have the time. It's usually held in the evenings. I think it was 7 o'clock, Chief, I don't recall, in that neighborhood. And it is a couple hours. It's a bit of a commitment, but if you enjoyed meeting the Marine Division, I think you learned quite a bit about the police department, current law, everything that we're doing here. So you may want to look out for that next announcement, if that's helpful.
Yes, thank you.
That's great. Well, thank you.
Thanks for the support, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Next
Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Captain.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Chief.
Dinner.
Back to dinner.
Okay. Well, that was quite interesting. Let's go to our next topic to discuss and vote on public health and safety aspects of item 23-20, the budget for July 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2024. And we'll also be including general capital items. So I sent to you just kind of a list of what I had put together of the different topics. I'll just kind of go ahead and we can kind of do them in order. I'll start with the police budget. The police budget has an overall increase of less than 1%, with increases in investigations, youth professional standards, and communication, with slight reductions in patrol. This budget includes the first increase in headcount approved for sworn police officers in 4 decades. And I think they're still down in numbers, but they've been approved to hire one more officer for this year. And any comments on the police budget?
Is it pretty much
Okay.
in line with what the chief was asking for?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I don't think there was anything that was glaring that was cut out of it.
Mac, did you get a chance? You and I had a discussion on that IT person. It was our understanding that that person was in the current budget, but they hadn't been able to hire anybody. Did you see?
I believe that's correct. They're still working on that.
And also it's my understanding, and I guess it's not, I don't know if it shows up in the budget or I don't know where it would show up in the budget, but they were going to try to better manage the expenditures by having a contra account, because if they're down in headcount, then they're obviously not paying the wages of the people that they're down, but they don't want to change the budget so that they have the ability to hire who they need to hire. But from an overall money management, there's some opportunities that there's some extra money. So I know that they were looking at that. I guess probably happens in finance or someplace. But
Right.
it's the first time they've tried to do it with the police, because the police are very much under budget because they couldn't find the staff. But one doesn't want to limit the staffing that they're looking.
No, I think you're right, and I'm hopeful that maybe Jack will talk about that when on the floor. Okay, well let's move on to the fire budget. Has an overall increase of approximately 8%, primarily due to a new positions of emergency services director, and that's to be filled starting in January 2024. This will replace the part-time position, allowing the assistant fire marshal's position to resume full-time fire marshal duties. The cost of the personnel changes with benefits is estimated at $271,630. Hoarding and blight issues are expected to decline. It should be noted the fire budget in total is approximately $2 million versus $9 million for the police. The town greatly benefits financially from an all-volunteer fire department. Any comments on fire?
Yeah, Mac, how do they, or who was it that said that hoarding and blight issues are expected to decline?
Well, the numbers I looked at are down. When they're expected in the future, and it may be just that they've addressed kind of the backlog, and going forward they don't anticipate as many. I suppose you don't know until it really comes up. But I was just looking at the numbers, predicted for the next budget season.
Yeah, and this is because the assistant fire marshal was half-time fire marshal and half-time blight officer, so to speak, dividing his duty. And I guess he's going to go back to full-time assistant fire marshal, given the new properties in town that are still requiring inspections, et cetera. Every multiple unit housing in Darien has to have every unit inspected every year. So given all the new properties at like Darien Commons and what'll be coming online at the Corbin District, that's going to be a lot more work for the fire marshal's office.
Good points.
So who's going to do the blight then?
I don't know. I think they hired a new blight officer. He was at the last meeting. Do watch the Blight Review Board. It is fascinating television, and they actually show pictures of the properties. They don't mention the name of the owner. They don't mention the address, but you'll recognize the properties. And so I think the blight control officer is going to be a new part-time, half-time position. They hired somebody with a fair amount of experience from further upstate.
And it's from other meetings I've attended, I've learned it's really a long process. I mean, you don't just point a finger at a house and expect, in 30 days that there's things. It's really a long, a thoughtful and well worked out process. And I think the goal is not to find people; it's to just, help people that might be in need. And it's a lot of safety issues with what they've uncovered on the inside that you don't even know about. The stacks of papers, a lot of safety issues.
And a lot of recidivists too. They'll bring someone up on charges. They will cut the grass or do whatever they needed to do. And you come back in 6 months and it's back the way it was again. It's not, that's why I'm wondering how they think the numbers are going to go down, especially because we've just added commercial properties as well too. Not that there's a slew of blighted commercial properties waiting to be inspected, but I just thought that was optimistic in their predictions. Yeah, they are still working on cases from 5, 6 years ago. There's at least one property in town that has so many fines on it that the town is ready. I'm not sure if they're ready. They could foreclose on the property. I will not mention the name of the owner of the property, but you can probably guess who it is. He's a regular guest at the Blight Review Board too. So I say it makes for great TV.
Great. Okay, well let's jump along here. The emergency medical services or post 53 budget is up $10,800 or 7.5%, is related to increased expenditures on professional services. It is noteworthy that the high school staffing of post 53 is all volunteer, and much of the operation is self-funded through donations. Town funding is $155,000, and the average response time with lights and sirens is about 6.5 minutes. 1,660 annual incidents, a number that's expected to increase, is between 4 and 5 per day. It's really just terrific work that they perform. Any comments on that? Yeah, Jim?
How are they predicting that there's going to be an increase in calls?
I think they're just the numbers have been going up.
Okay.
And I don't think a lot, but I think there's also you know, my son was in post 53. He's was doing it 10 years ago, so he's been kind of out of it, but he's kind of foreseen an issue where people call for things that maybe in past instances people went, you know, they took somebody to the emergency room themselves, but now there's calls that come in and they come to homes and businesses more frequently.
And do you know what this increase in quote professional services is?
I think it has to do with the paramedics and their contract. I think you know, I think that's kind of the crux of it. And I know they're getting more vehicles or replacing vehicles, and I have some comments when we talk about capital about that.
Well, here again, like the fire department, I mean, we are blessed to have so many volunteers performing such excellent work. So that saves the town a ton of money.
Well, you know, there are other parts of the country where it can take a half an hour for an ambulance to show up. I mean, for us to have you know, 6.5 minutes as an average response time is pretty something.
Yeah.
Okay, the human services for the town includes human services and outside assistance, the senior center, senior transportation, youth services, and the public health department. Your overall budget is up 7% due to increased public health department, senior center, and youth services expenditures. The youth services budget is up due primarily to strong enrollments in various programs, with an anticipated 43,000 increase in revenue. Senior transportation revenue and expenditures are expected to be down slightly. Public health department's budget is up 9% with an increase in personnel. This budget of $408,500 is anticipated to receive revenue of $158,350 from increasing business licenses and permits. I think that last part, there's just, you know, there's more businesses coming on board in town. There's more licensing and whatnot with the, you know, the new businesses in the downtown project and in the Heights project.
And that should offset some of the increased costs that the health department is incurring to do inspections of new restaurants and things like that.
Yeah, it's not a even 100% offset, but they do, you know, and I think for the first time they're actually increasing. We discussed it at our last advisory board of health meeting. They're already increasing the fees. They hadn't been done in maybe 10 years or so.
Right.
And also they're the last, I think, body of town hall. They're now taking credit cards. And electronic payments where before they could only accept a check. So I think that's you know, it makes it a little bit easier for them to collect revenue.
Health inspectors not taking cash.
Yeah.
Shocking.
Yeah. Oh. Okay, well that's all I had on the budget. We could talk about capital. Do we want to vote on the budget, just these aspects, and then we'll go on to the Capitol? Jim, you want to make a motion?
Not really. I'm not sure. Are we, I mean, are we going to be asked to vote specifically on these items or just
Yeah, what we've done in
sense
the
of the
past
meeting
is
type thing?
I just do I kind of go through these similarly in front of the full RTM that we discussed it as a committee. And these are the things that are kind of under our umbrella. I mean, the biggest part of the budget that we look at is the police department, a budget of nine million. But I'll go through these and I'll just say that we've discussed them and we support them and we ask that the full RTM do the same. So we're not suggesting that we vote positively on the whole budget. It's just kind of what's under our umbrella.
Right. I would make a motion that we endorse the health and safety specific budget items as outlined in your summary, and are also grateful for the number of volunteers that help provide some of these services and keep our taxes down.
Okay. Do you have a second?
Second.
Okay. Thanks, Tom. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. That's unanimous. Thank you. So then we break out capital items that are noteworthy. Under our umbrella, the capital items is approximately 1.2 million. And I'll kind of go in order here. The police has approximately half of that. Their capital budget is almost 505,000. 206 of that is for vehicle replacement, and 226,000 is for their CAD system or computer aided dispatch. As far as the Darien Fire Department, their capital budget is 77,000, and that's for their firehouse exhaust mitigation system. The Norotan Fire Department has a budget of almost 200,000 for general capital, and that's for their self-contained breathing apparatus. The Norotan Heights Fire Department has about 190,000, and that's for part of it's for the early work being done on the retaining wall, and then also self-contained breathing apparatus. Apparently, the breathing apparatus, it has to be replaced every so many years and brought up to date. The Fire Commission has a capital item of 90,000, and that's for various things at the fire training center. And we took a tour of that. I think it was a year ago in the spring, and it's really something what they do up there. It's the area that's kind of off to the side from the what I call the town dump. But that's where they do their practicing and whatnot. And I think Penny, didn't you mention you caught a whiff of their the fumes from there, I think, a while back.
I did. It was really strong. And I lived sort of a fair distance from there. We thought there was an accident on the highway. We didn't know what was going on. But yeah, it's quite something. It was very toxic smelling, as a matter of fact. But anyway.
Yeah, I think I looked into that a little bit for you, and they do the best they can try to work with materials that aren't so bad. I mean, when they're not just dousing an old car with gasoline, they're using things that are a little bit, and then lighting it. I mean, they're using a little bit better materials and whatnot. So, sure.
So the new fire engines and stuff, does that get all planned out separately outside of this process?
Well, I think so, because I think those are included in the bonding items. So these are dollar amounts that are earmarked within the budget. I don't believe any of these are being bonded. Now the reason the retaining wall is kind of, they haven't put in much money yet because they don't know what it's going to be. It could be possibly a couple $1 million. So that falls under possible bonding.
Yeah, and then the wall part of the it's a study for the wall, right? They're having an engineering study done on it.
Right. Because they have to put it out to bid, and they need that study first to so someone can really understand what they're looking for, to bid on it properly. Under the fire marshal, they've earmarked 64,000 for vehicle replacement and 13,000 for radio replacement. And in post 53, there's 95,000 that's been earmarked for a paramedic response vehicle, which it's kind of I think the best way I can describe it is it's between what they call the fly car and an actual ambulance. And that's so they've I don't know if they currently have one, but that's something that they've put in the budget for. So add all these things up, and it's approximately 1.2 million. So that's any comments on any of that? We kind of went through it. Yeah, Jim.
I think we talked about this last meeting, and that's that fire commission. The fire commission, last meeting, we had somebody from one of the fire departments, I guess from the Roden Heights Fire Department, who was talking about the grant for the study on the wall, etc. And he referred to the fire commission. And I told him I would reach out to him and ask him for the names and contact information for the fire commissioners, who are apparently chosen by each department. Supposedly, he says, meet in public, although their meetings are not noticed. There are no agendas posted that I can find. There are no minutes posted. And here they come asking for, how much was it? Just a second. $90,000 for the fire training center. Undoubtedly worthy expenditure, but I would like a little more transparency on this. So perhaps, not speaking for the committee, Mac, but maybe, or maybe tell me how you feel about this. I would like to have a question raised when you're going down this list of capital items about the fire commission and its status, so that we could help incentivize them to become fully transparent, participative, and FOI compliant, so we understand who these people are and how they meet and how they make their decisions to ask for money.
Yeah, I think it's my understanding that the selectmen are working on this, and they want to have other people on the commission than call them laymen or whatever, but just have a little more balance than just like you say, just kind of an inner sanctum of individuals.
Right. I'm not casting any aspersions on them or their motivations. I'm just saying, if they're asking for money in the town budget, show us the paperwork, show us, make us understand how you come to these decisions.
Yeah, I would just add to that. I agree with you, Jim. I would say, speaking for myself, I would be interested to understand, what does the police commission do, vis-a-vis how does this fire commission operate, right? What are the differences? Shouldn't they sort of be in sync in terms of how they're presenting and warning meetings and so forth? And my second question, a little bit unrelated, was, do we have a figure around these requests from last year, just so we can understand year to year? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I mean, every budget has these items. I don't have them right in front of me, but certainly they're available. I know I was talking for some time with Krista, and also with Monica. We've been discussing that we no longer get budget books. I think it's really unfortunate. I personally like a budget book. It's heavy, it's cumbersome, but it has tabs on it. You can quickly flip through things. And if to your point, if we had, right here, if I had last year's in front of me, I could flip through it very quickly and give you that number from a year ago. So my hope is that we can talk. Maybe it's something that the rules committee will discuss. Is that we really should have the ability to get physical books printed. I've been told, well, they're expensive. Well, what is expensive? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, thank you. I certainly appreciate that. I didn't mean to put you on the spot or anything.
No, that's okay.
I wouldn't know the figure either. And maybe we can use some of the trees that Eversource chopped down to reprint some books.
Yeah. Well, we went to when I first got on the RTM and was chair of District 5, I used to go with my son on our bicycles and take the budget books to everybody's house. It was kind of a fun little excursion. And then it went to the point where we didn't print them up for everybody, only if you ask for one. Now you can't even ask for one. They're saying, well, you just go online. And it's just, like I say, it's just, it's tedious to do it that way.
Yeah, I have a question. I am going to bring it up at rules because I've heard it from several people. But if any of you think that you would have asked for a book, could you just drop a note to Mac so then I can ask Mac for the totals? Because
Sure, that'd be helpful. Thank you.
it would be nice to know, to stand up and say, okay, this is our committee, and 3 people asking is great. I'm not looking to say all 12 or 14 people on our committee want it, because we really want to know who's going to do it. The information is available on the web, but it's not easily accessible for the different components. So it depends on how one approaches what we want to look at, whether the web can suffice or we really want a book. And, we can support, they cut things and then say, oh, did you need them? So I think that it's happened in another area. But that if the web thing isn't going to support whatever each of us individually want, if we could just drop a note to Mac, and then I'll use that as part of the discussion. And small is fine. If only a dozen people want it, then that's great. I'm not looking to say everybody wants it, and I certainly don't want to waste the time and the money that it takes to produce it. So,
well, the PDF file is created. I mean, you can just click on it. I put it on my iPad. It's 300 pages, and you can get through it, but it's so much easier when it's in a book form. You can write on it, and maybe it's just because I'm a little more old school, but I think that it just makes it easier. And I think if I'm feeling that way, there might be more of us out there that feel that way. And I just would like to kind of know, when one says how expensive is it, what are we talking about? Yeah, Jim.
Has anybody used the OpenGov site? I don't know if it has that kind of year-to-year comparison that might be useful. I don't know I don't think the budget book does, but I haven't looked at OpenGov. I know that they refer to it a lot. The finance director talks about it. She shows slides from it when she's pitching the budget to boards of commission and finance as well too.
Well, I printed out the executive summary of this year's budget, but by mistake, I first printed out last year's because it was in the same place. It was on the website. So last year's budget is pretty accessible. I kind of wish in hindsight it wasn't so, because I started to work on what I thought was this year's budget, but it was last year's. So anyway,
you didn't print it out, I hope, right?
No,
not 300 pages.
Yeah.
But even that budget summary that you sent us, that larger document, you can do a Control F search and find any particular item you want in there. You can put the word police in, and it'll show you every reference to police, every reference to TV 79. It's all in there. You can find it.
I have it open right now. I just opened it. And it does allow you to go back year to year to see comparisons.
This is OpenGov.
Yes. And I've never looked at it before. I just opened it now. Yeah. And it does, probably some playing around with it, you would be able to find previous year's information fairly quickly.
Can you send us the link to the OpenGov site? Just send it to Mac and he can send it around everybody, because it might be worth it.
Sure.
It's a little late. I hate to say that, I'm not criticizing Mac. It's a little late to be having this conversation because the budget is pretty much, the cake is baked and it's about ready to come out of the oven.
So we're doing this for next year. That's why we're bringing this.
Well, exactly. I mean, let's just think about, if we engage ourselves, if we talk to these various departments, maybe a little earlier in the budget cycle, and as you do in public health, in the advisory board on health, David Knopf, health director, what do you want? What do you think you're going to get? How can we help? We can help lobby as well too, to make sure that our departments get what they think they need.
Right. Well, frankly, there wasn't anything kind of like that this year. I mean, there wasn't any glaring thing of the things that we cover where there was something that we had to kind of go to bat for people. But your point's well taken.
Right. I have every faith in you watching the whole process and letting us know if we need to intermediate.
Yeah. No, I mean, David, for example, in the past has asked for things and has kind of asked, for a little bit of another hand out there to help with the request.
Yeah.
So,
Would you
okay.
like a motion, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, thank you.
I move that we endorse the capital item requests as proposed in the budget, affecting the various public health and safety touching departments in town government. Sorry.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, thanks, Beth. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, great.
That's
Okay,
our
thank you.
Christine's on the phone.
Okay.
Christine, did you vote?
No, I'm here. I raised my hand.
We don't see you.
Your screen.
Okay, all right.
Didn't see.
Well, that's okay. Under announcements, I just wanted to point out that I got a email from David Knopf that the governor's press conference is going to be I don't know how often he has them, but on May 10th, he's going to announce that it's the official end of the public health emergency declaration. So that's so that's gonna come down. And then I think Jim, you had an announcement.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that Thursday next, the 11th of May, the Public Works Department is going to be holding a town hall in the town hall auditorium about flooding, specifically about the Saltbox Lane area flooding study. The area that study covers is like the southwest corner of town from the Post Road up to I-95, from the Stamford line over to Norotan Avenue. It was seriously affected by the two major storms we had last year, and the town has spent a fair amount of money hiring consultants to come in and take a look at how to improve drainage. The Board of Selectmen and the ARPA committee, I believe, had put aside about 1.5 million in anticipation of what they were going to recommend. The executive summary of this study is already online, and their estimation is closer to $6 million.
Wow.
Just to increase the size of the culverts and the drainage, et cetera. Anyhow, as a primer to the hearing on next Thursday, the 11th, 7 p.m., Darien Town Hall Auditorium, carried live on TV 79. I did an interview with
shameless
Rolf,
plug.
Thank you. I did an interview with Rolf Oben from District 4, who has been on Public Works forever and is probably the most knowledgeable about the flooding issue and the studies that have been done. It runs about 20-25 minutes. I will send everybody on the committee through Mac a link to that video. It's very comprehensive. It's got pictures of flooding. It's got all the stats, etc. Take a look at that. If that doesn't whet your appetite, to go to the hearing itself, I'm going to alert all my people in my district, because I'm in that very district, District 4. They got to show up. They got to see where the money is going to be spent. If you don't live in that area that was affected by flooding, you will be paying for the remediation of such flooding. So you still may be interested as well, too. Thursday, the 11th, 7 p.m.
Well, there's that
on TV 79.
There's that picture of someone standing on their car underneath the train tracks on the Post Road, and I'd forgotten about that. How much water was down there?
Yeah, and the koi fish swimming down the Post Road, etc. It was like 5-6 inches in 4 hours or something. One of those storms.
Yeah.
It was bad. Thank you, Mac.
Okay. No, thank you. Okay. Well, I think that's all we have for tonight. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay. All in favor? Okay, great. Okay. Well, thank you.